The mutilated bodies of 3 women are discovered buried in the woods behind a strip mall in New Britain, Connecticut. At the same time, a man by the name of William Howell is serving out a prison sentence in connection to the disappearance of 33-year-old Nerissa Arizmendi.
The person we believe to be a suspect.
Howell is suddenly named as a suspect in the other murders.
Howell did confess his crimes.
Prosecutors say while in prison, Howell confessed to his cellmate, Jonathan Mills. And according to Mills, he tells him a terrifying tale about his alter ego, the Sick Ripper, who picked up women in what he called his murdermobile and buried them in the woods behind a mall. When cops get word of this killer confession,
Additional human remains were located and recovered.
tragically, investigators unearth 4 more bodies. That brings the body count to 7, 6 women and 1 man.
We knew that they were not just Jane Does, that they were somebody's loved one. They were somebody's daughter, somebody's sister.
Soon, the coroner identifies the additional victims as 29-year-old Melanie Ruth Camellini, 44-year-old Danny Lee Wisnett, 26-year-old Marilyn Mendez-Gonzalez, and 33-year-old Nerissa Arizmendi.
The prosecutors had 6 out of 7 DNA samples of the victims in his van.
William Devin Howell is charged with multiple capital felony murders. It's an unprecedented crime, giving him an unprecedented title.
The most notorious serial killer in the state of Connecticut's history.
Then, in a stunning turn of events,
William Howell decided that he didn't want a trial, that he was prepared to plead guilty.
Howell admits to the savage murders in the back of his murdermobile. While he awaits sentencing, Ann K. Howard, who's been blogging about the case, reaches out to the murderer.
And I told him I was interested in writing a book about him. And much to my surprise, 2 weeks later, William Devin Howell wrote back to me.
Over the next several months, the serial killer and the attorney turned author exchange numerous letters, which the killer gives exclusively to Ann for her book.
I was introduced to a man that the public has not seen.
In them, Howell describes his grisly killing spree that took the lives of 7 people in just 6 short months.
And what's significant about where we're standing right now?
This is the location in the corner of the McDonald's parking lot in New Britain where the serial killer William Devin Howell raped and strangled 3 of his victims.
Where we're standing?
Absolutely. He would duct tape their mouths so that no one would hear them making any noises. He was careful to park in remote enough locations, even though he would be in a parking lot that had public access and perhaps even had some cars parked. They were always, at least 50 feet away.
About Nerissa Arizmendi, he writes, "She wanted a ride into Hartford. I grabbed her, raped her throughout the night and into the day. I killed her and threw her down the hill."
It was at this location, Nerissa, that he would drive his van up. He would slide open the side door. The body of each of his victims would be wrapped in plastic trash bags and then very quickly thrown them over this steep embankment into the ravine below.
Concerning Howell's first victim, Melanie Camellini, he writes, "I grabbed her by the throat. I raised a hammer and told her all I want is sex. If you don't give me any trouble, you won't get hurt." But that wasn't true. He hits her with a hammer and strangles her to death. And that's not all.
At the time he was living in his van, so he slept beside her body for 2 weeks.
According to police affidavits, he nicknamed the corpse Baby. Then he writes about Marilyn Gonzalez and how after raping her through the night, he, quote, "got us some fast food breakfast." It will be her final meal before Howell strangles her to death. It's a strange ritual he admits to doing with most of his victims, writing, "I'd go through the Mickey D's drive-thru with a half-naked tied-up expletive in the back and told them if they made a sound it would be their last. None of them did." They are acts that can only be described as pure evil. But as I was about to find out, the man who committed them is not so easily defined.
I mean, I committed monstrous and heinous crimes, but my true character isn't a monstrous and heinous person.
Coming up.
Everybody wants to know why.
In his first national interview, Connecticut's most prolific serial killer speaks from behind bars.
I chose to do what I did, and I just chose not to care. So I just don't fit the mold at all that everybody tries to put serial killers in, you know what I mean?